Hello, this is Liama, and today I will be reviewing Bronze Age Pervert's book, Bronze Age Mindset. This is not condoning, nor is it going against Bronze Age Mindset. This simply is a book that I have read and reread, and I have enjoyed, and I wish to share my interest in this book with other people, which the other people are you who view this video. I should say this is not my first read of Bronze Age Mindset by Bronze Age Pervert. However, I should say that Bronze Age Mindset was the first book by him, Bronze Age Pervert, who I will refer to as BAP from now on, in order to not bloat my script, that I have read. I, as of now, have not read the other book, Selective Breeding and the Birth of Philosophy, that is supposedly by him, and I obviously haven't read the book he says he will release this year, due to it not being released. I'm a frequent listener of Caribbean Rhythms, his podcast, and I enjoyed episode 109 with Nick Land, which is the current most recent episode as of now. As well as that, I am following him on Twitter, and I have read many of his articles. Most recently, his one on Israel and Iran. I believe I should have them all linked in the description. Bronze Age Pervert is supposedly known as Costin Alamaru, though there is no evidence of that being so, other than rather baseless claims by news stations, and has never been confirmed by BAP or Costin. Originally, BAP became popular on image boards, and then he became popular on Twitter, where he has been banned and reinstated around 2 times. BAP is the central figure of Frog Twitter, a subsection of right-wing Twitter. Frog Twitter posters often pose their or others' physiques, either jokingly or while talking about colonization of the global south. BAP and Frog Twitter posters are often criticized as Jewish by Gorpers due to Costin being half Jewish from his father's side, or gay by others due to posting muscular men, whether it be themselves or others. BAP, however, is not gay, or at the very least, he is bisexual and frequently posts women he finds attractive. And Costin frequently visits prostitutes. BAP's Twitter account is at Bronze Age Mantis. Costin's is Costin_eats. The book opens up with a prologue which provides both a declaration of the author's, Bronze Age Pervert's, intention with the book and a general overview of the book itself. BAP states that he has little to say to people who are not like him, and he does not care to attempt to change the minds of others. With the overview of the book, he says, "This is account of my reveries. I tried to put as brief and simple as I could the thought that motivates me in the problems faced by life in ascent and decline." The writing of the book is rather blunt and sort of caveman-like. He is very direct and to the point with all that he says and all that he doesn't say. There's very little reading between the lines that is needed to understand his points. There's a sort of McCarthy-like style to his writing, but it's not as bare bones or, well written as McCarthy's writing was. The chapters of the book is formatted rather oddly. Chapters, if you could call them that. There's very little transition between paragraphs, and they often have nothing to do with each other. I wouldn't call that a critique, however. It's more just something that I noticed. He refers to his book as an exhortation rather than a book on philosophy, meaning he is exhorting you and taking action against the problems that he sees in the modern world, which is it being matriarchal, longhouse, and all around boring to both live in and observe. He also has a way to fix said problems, and the way he intends to fix the problems is through a return to a more masculine and more warrior-centered Bronze Age Greek-esque society, which he outlines that and multiple other things throughout the book. There's no real centered issue he talks about. Instead, he goes through multiple topics and issues, and he uses them to support his point. I wouldn't say that's a critique either, and I believe he actually does that rather effectively. Among the various points in his book, one of the main points is the belief that animals, including humans, have a need to conquer and control space, and all that other urges are separate and secondary. I quite agree with this point, and I wrote an essay on a similar topic for a school project a few years back. His description he uses alongside with this point is also very good. A healthy animal, not under distress, not maimed, not trapped by man, seeks first when young, space. Animal seeks space in a physical sense, territory, but this meaning also isn't crudely physical. I give this a vivid image, which is true for many animals that seek ownership of concrete territory. Another point that I like, though it's not a main one, is his analogy of the chimp and whether it masturbates or not. It's a very good description and helps people to better understand the urges that causes people to fall into porn addiction. I also found it very funny. He says, chimp in the state of nature never jerks off, but in captivity he does. What does this mean? In the state of nature, he's too busy, to put plainly. He's concerned with mastering space, solving problem of life, and under trees, mastering what tools he can. Mastering social relations and jockeying for power and status. And a final point for this section that I like is what he says about the longhouse. There are way too many instances of good quotes for this part, so I will not include any. Multiple times throughout the book, he references the longhouse and matriarchal society that he says we live through, and what he believes we should deal with that problem. There are multiple things in this book that I like. His description of modern society, of the longhouse, his reference to classical authors and philosophies, etc. I shall list 3 specific things for this. The next section, which is what I don't like, however, won't have that many. Number 1, I'm a fan of the humor into this book. The part of the chimp jerking off, like I said, was a very good analogy and very funny to me, and I had to reread multiple times so I could take in what he was saying instead of just laughing. I'm a very, very simple person with monkey jokes. It's kind of sad. Number 2, Bronze Age Pervert intelligence. Of all the things you can critique BAP as, homosexual, Romanian, Jewish, you cannot say he isn't intelligent. He demonstrates multiple times throughout the book that he's very well educated and knowledgeable on many topics, whether it's classical authors, history, or anthropology. BAP shows himself to be very intelligent. Number 3, the formatting. The formatting isn't pointlessly complicated or difficult to understand. Sure, it sometimes is easy to get lost due to abrupt switches between topics, but for me it was very easy to follow along. The spelling mistakes are rather annoying at times. I understand he is doing it on purpose, but it still annoys me having to decipher some of the stuff he says because he decided to spell it wrong. If I would recommend this to someone, it would depend on who that person is. When BAP writes, he has a very specific audience in mind, and if someone isn't part of that audience, they either don't like what he writes or won't get it in the first place. If the person I'm recommending it to is similar to the audience BAP has in mind, I would recommend it to them. Otherwise, I would not. If I needed to rate the book, I would give it a 7 out of 10 due to some personal disagreements with some of the stuff said in the book and with some of the stuff BAP says outside of it, considering how it's, well, his thoughts. So his thoughts outside of the book also affect the book itself. It lowered some of its points. But otherwise, I like the book quite a bit, and I've read it twice now, as I've said.